The views expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station. Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan. This is a Channel 11 News public affairs program dealing with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights.
Buddy, I'm Marisa, McKay. Welcome to Insight. Sitting down with me today is Mayor Matt Waligora of Alpena. Now, Mr. Mayor, this past year has been a whirlwind for you. You were elected to office, and since there's been a lot going on. So let's start with talking about this past year. What are some of the things that you've done as mayor that you'd like to discuss? Well,
there has certainly been a lot of great accomplishments and a lot of different things. A quick learning experience towards the beginning. I prepared myself prior to as best I could, as far as going to a year's worth of meetings prior to just to see how that aspect of the meeting part works, and meeting people and talking to different people and getting over that, and then it was right into it. I think I hit it off really with my first meeting, understanding how at least that part works and how business is taken care of, so to speak. And as far as different things that I've accomplished, or that I should say that the city has accomplished, I certainly don't take any particular credit for specific things. Some of them I had more involvement in, and some of them I was actually just proud and happy to be in the room when they took place. So.
Definitely. Well, the Adopted Park program, some of the meetings that I went to, a lot of people seemed to be really excited about that, and it seemed as if Alpena was then moving towards the direction of really developing our parks, which is a very proud part of Alpena, I would say, for a lot of people.
It is, because you come in and I think just from my own perspective, you go by something as a resident 100 times in a year, and you accept that that's how it is, so to speak. And then when somebody comes by and steps up and says, you know, hey, do you realize we can't see the river from this road or that road? And like Mr. Gilmet did, and I think he was the one that really started that whole riverfront project. Took the initiative and came to council and said, hey, I'd like to do this. There were always little aspects of Adopted Park programs.
Right.
It was never really structured. And when he came out and he did that, and they're doing that now on Johnson Street, a huge improvement there. It just goes to show what can be done, not only with community involvement, with business involvement. We structured the program. Staff did a fantastic job of, in a very small amount of time, getting it on the website and getting it up and productive. So
Definitely.
It's fantastic.
Definitely. And this summer also we saw a very big spike in tourism, especially with the bike tours that Alpena played host to, and you even declared one of the months of summer Biking Month or Bicycle Month in Michigan. So tell me a little bit about that. How did that help you as mayor really preside over a city that was booming?
Everything that happens like that, it's a learning experience, not only for myself but for a lot of people, because that's a whole nother community, so to speak, is the bicycle world. The Michigan Air Tour came in late this fall. 30 airplanes landed at our airport as their last stop, and I would have never, as a resident, and been here for several years, I would have never have known that even existed. And so there are so many things like that. Last night I went to a SAC meeting over at the Maritime Heritage Museum, and they went over a lot of the different things that they did during the summer and who was here for them, and their school programs and their college program, and the dives that they have. And it's amazing. Everything that's going on is amazing, and I guess that's the part of being a mayor and being subjected to all of that that ordinarily you wouldn't, I guess. So
definitely, yeah, a unique perspective to being a resident in the city because of your position.
Right. Right.
And has there been anything that's happened that you haven't been successful with, if anything, that you'd like to talk about?
Well, when you look at the things that have been successful, that I've been a part of, there's been many. I mean, and I'll just briefly go over that just a little bit to give a bit of a perspective that relatively weeks after I came in, we started discussing the air service program, and just that one project that we accomplished, I didn't accomplish that. I'm credited for different things that I was involved in, but when you look at the people that were involved and how we came together and got that figured out, and we just keep using that. Another program that used a bit of that similar type of aspect of getting a lot of people involved was the synthetic drug program. I didn't have a whole lot of involvement in that personally. I went to meetings and I tried to coordinate what I could, what they needed from me, and in the end it was just really something amazing to just be part of it and be in the room when everything took place. And they've continued on with prescription drug problems now.
Right.
And so programs like that and getting a lot of people, that's the success that can be implemented on just about everything.
Right.
A positive attitude that a change can be made. As far as not so successful with, or things that I certainly look to improve, are more on the very local level, segregated in the city of Alpena, as far as relationships with myself and council, with staff, and with each other.
And building those relationships, which do happen over time.
Right. You know, I can say that the relationships that we've built with county government and township government, first name basis, with state legislators, with federal legislators, that all worked out very well, and our relationships are very well, which will set us up for different projects throughout the next several years.
Great. And some of those future projects we will be discussing later on in the show as well. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And if you guys stay tuned, when we come back, we'll be discussing the recall effort and some of those issues surrounding this upcoming 2012 election. Welcome back, everybody, to Insights. I'm Marisa, McKay, and sitting down with me is Mayor Matt Waligora of Alpena. Now, previously, we discussed some of the accomplishments and some of the really wonderful things that happened for Alpena over the summer. And now moving into the recall issue. Now, there are some city residents out there who say that you've terminated a city manager's contract without cause, that you violated the Open Meetings Act, in addition with 2 other city councilmen. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I guess I would start by saying that, or stating that the state law in Michigan regarding the recall process is completely flawed, and I think everyone understands that. And what I mean by that is when we walk in, when the petition came out, and we walk into the county election commission, and a judge tells you that he's not there to consider whether the statements on the recall are true or false, or just there to make sure that they're clear, it sets you back a little bit, so to speak. And
because it makes you feel as if somebody could just say anything on a petition.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't make you feel that way. It makes it factual that you can do that. We've seen it in other communities, and now we're seeing it here to a level of what it is how I see the entire thing is on the petition itself, and what we've been accused of is a couple of the items are up for interpretation. A couple of them just don't detail enough, and one of them is just absolutely and clearly false. You know, if you start just briefly, if you start with the termination of the city manager's contract without cause, and it's tough to put enough on a recall petition to give people a fair assessment of what that was. So that's where the voters have to really listen or study, or I'd certainly like them to. That the contract was set up that way. It's fairly similar to city manager contracts throughout the state. It protects the city manager, protects the city itself. The without cause part basically just means that the city manager didn't fall into the for cause requirements, there were like 4 of them in his contract. And so the contract was basically up for renewal, so to speak, and we terminated the contract. And then you move into the Open Meetings Act. There what you have is you put the 3 of us in a position that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to defend something that didn't happen.
Right.
So that's that's been a struggle with me, and I think the other councilmen as well. You have a puzzle, so to speak, of what people would take a few pieces of the puzzle and determine for themselves and publicly state that this puzzle means that the picture is a farm. but you know that it's not. So an analogy,
right? Exactly, like you said, it's
an odd analogy, if you will. But it's not, and you look at it, and you can either constantly try to defend the fact that you know what the picture is, and it's not a farm, but they've put it together that way to be, and so.
So it's been a frustrating process.
It is a bit frustrating, but I've, and then with the other two items on there, those are also just completely up to interpretation, how you see the budget and how you think and what numbers you put together mathematically as to whether it affects the budget that much, and whether you think that any budget, how it would affect a budget, how might it affect the budget years from now if we hadn't made a difference or if we hadn't made a change of some kind. So a lot of that is up for interpretation. So it's a bit frustrating. I've said as many times as it seems asked that I didn't violate the Open Meetings Act. The three of us didn't violate the Open Meetings Act.
And moving forward for voters, you kind of touched on this. Moving forward for voters, what do you want people to think about as they're heading to the polls in a few weeks?
Well, every time you go to the polls for anything, we're always asked as voters to educate ourselves. In this particular, with the recall, I would certainly ask voters to look at myself and the three councilmen. What do we bring to the table, or the two councilmen? I'm sorry, added them up. What do we bring to the table? You take the recall petition and what's on it for what it's worth. But when you look at what the three of us bring to the table, our ideas from and our supportiveness for law enforcement and hunt and adopt a park. You've got a councilman that has a wealth of experience, that had a significant amount to do with our landlord rental program that we have in town, and so add it all up and take a look and be educated on what those, not necessarily the significance of the recall itself, but a broader aspect of what we were elected for in the first place, and the fact that we were just elected and re-elected a year ago. We had very few opponents, and so that has to be an aspect. And in my mind, it has to be an aspect of, okay, I can recall these people, but then what? Okay, so that's something that people should educate themselves with. Replacements have to be made. The consequences, if you will. That have to be made, and that's why I thought it was great that our attorney spelled that out, and the media covered it well at our last meeting as far as what does take place. It's not just a matter of a person getting recalled. There's different things that take place and who's involved and at what cost. People like to, well, even the recall.
Right, they like to see numbers in front of them.
They like to see numbers brought to them. When you look at point 4 on the recall petition, and you say, okay, well, this is going to affect our budget, and then now you're turning around and you're saying, okay, if I recall even one person, that could potentially cost $10,000 or more. So you look, and you have to weigh that. Certainly, I weighed it when we discussed the contract, the termination of the contract. It had financial consequences to a certain extent. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever use, that people shouldn't, that should be a determining factor, but they should certainly think about that.
Definitely, and you're also saying too that when you did decide to go ahead with that decision with the termination of that contract, that you did weigh the options. It wasn't a snap decision.
Oh, sure.
That it was something that you thought seriously about.
I think every one of us did. I can certainly say that I did, and then we went from there, and this is where we are today. So
definitely. And now segueing into your leadership strategy as a mayor, what kind of person do you try to be as a mayor? Are you more the aggressor, or do you sort of sit back and take it all in and really, as we said, weigh your options? I think people would be really interested to know the kind of leader that you see yourself as.
I see myself as a combination of both, so to speak. You hate to hear this, even in Alpena, when we talk about different things, and we'll talk about branding later, but it's that same thing. I certainly don't want to tell people that I'm a little bit of everything or that I'm everything, but I do my best to take everything in and take what's given, and try not to jump to conclusions on any aspect. I can give you a few examples, so to speak, but take it all in, and then when you take action on it.
Which may not be at the meeting when it's all happening, but maybe a little bit later.
Well, depending on what it is. You know, we had an issue with the L&S trucks on the north side, and a resident had, you know, brought that up, and it was, we eventually spoke about it at public meeting, but certain things like that, you try and take care of them on a business level with staff and with that resident and with the business, L&S and Lafarge in that aspect. So so you take that all in, and then in the end, like I said, if it does need action, then that's when I'm aggressive.
Right.
I don't want to find out 6 months from now, and I think, oh, you know, hey, what do we do about that? Did we do anything?
Right.
So I like to.
And then the flip side, right, is waiting and doing something too quickly, and then
exactly.
you've made a
and that's
decision.
been done.
Right.
That's been done a few times in state government and local government.
Right.
Our decisions at home. You know, if you make too quick of a thing, and you learn by that. It happens. You learn by it. So.
Right. With any job, it's learning by trial and error.
Right.
As everything. All right. Well, thank you so much. And when we come back, we're going to be discussing the mayor's thoughts about the future and maybe some future plans for 2013. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Insights, everybody. Now, we've previously discussed the mayor's last year in office and also this recall issue, and now let's look forward. Mr. Mayor, what do you have going on in the future and some of the plans that you'd like to execute as we move forward in 2013?
Well, there's a ton, probably more than we could discuss here. Some of the bigger highlights, we just talked about the city manager position, so that'll be something that we've already started for a permanent city manager, and we hired a consultant, and he met with a lot of great people in Alpena, and had a lot of super positive things to say about those people after he met with them. And we spoke the other day. He sent a preliminary. I don't know what the exact title of it is. It's a document basically saying what we're looking for in a city manager, a profile, so to speak, and it encompassed everything that everyone spoke to him about. It wasn't just you know, what one person said or what one group said. It was very encompassing, and we spoke for a bit about that. That'll be once we get that finalized, that'll be released in early October. I'm sorry, early November.
Okay.
And so that'll be released, and we'll get started on that process. That's going to be exciting. There are some internal improvements being made for efficiencies, and there's been quite a bit of talk about internally with staff about making some different some changes in how we look at things. Some of them some of them are out already, and some of them they're still working on, and so we can use them as we go. The Adopt a Park program is we've talked about a little bit, and that's really exciting.
Definitely. And we talked about bikes in the summer and then snowmobiles in the winter. You had mentioned some of the trail improvements. Yeah, but we've made improvements. There's exciting things in the future as far as the Trailhead project that's getting started. Greg Sundin and staff has been, you know, great with that. And that encompasses a lot of entities that we talked about before as far as relationships go. That just one small spot where that trailhead is going to be encompasses the city, the county, the township, the soccer association. You know, eventually the snowmobile club might have some more involvement in that. And so, you know, you work together with a lot of different things. You touch on snowmobiles. That reminds us, you know, that winter is coming, and so you look at now is the time prior to snow that you look at, in particular, the snowmobiles. Last year was our first year of allowing snowmobiles to come in on certain trails throughout the city. So we need to take a really good look at that before winter to make sure that, you know, did we go over all the improvements or anything that we should tweak and change before the season starts again to make that better. Snow plowing and different issues with sidewalks and things like that. We'll definitely start talking about them very soon. It's too difficult to talk about that when it's snowing. Yes, exactly.
So we'll talk about stuff like that. You can't talk about the next year without mentioning the branding program.
Right, my next question. So go right
ahead. So is that coming?
Yeah.
That is something that's just really it's fantastic. It's huge. It's again, it's all encompassing. With the crew that they have together, the committee.
Right, the Downtown Development Authority, Target Alpena, Chamber of
business
Commerce.
leaders,
exactly.
some city staff. There's someone from hopefully just about everywhere. And when everybody buys in on something like that and doesn't feel left out, and they're all moving in the same direction, it's just great. And it's one of those things where I went to the presentation, which was a little bit longer than the one that they showed at City Council. I went to the full one, and it was just great. There was really nothing negative about it, you know, and just the aspect that you can no longer say that as a city that you have everything to offer, because everybody's saying it, so it's convoluted in it, and you get lost in the shuffle. And so to be able to say, you know, that these are the particular things that you can expect when you come to Alpena. And I was talking to Jeff Gray a little bit last night, and about that project, and there are promises that go along with that. They call them promises because in the branding aspect, eventually we'll release materials and websites, and you know, businesses will display some portion of the sanctuary of how they view themselves as the sanctuary of the Great Lakes.
And so it's getting everybody involved.
Right, and so when people come and businesses come and they expect that they're going to move their business here and their employees are going to be able to you know, enjoy the sanctuary, well, that's a promise, and so that we have to be careful that we encompass that promise, and it's exciting. So
definitely,
you know, that's going to be a big project that we continue to work on. The plaza, the grant writing, again, Greg was just right on the spot with this grant and program that we've gotten ourselves with. You know, the plaza, the specific location, it was very similar to the one in the presentation that they used from South Dakota. If I have the state right, and so it fits well. So now we'll just take a look and make sure that that really does fit with Alpena and what it's going to affect.
Right, and obviously these are all preliminary discussions. Nothing certain has been made, but it is just letting people know, hey, this is what we're interested in doing, and getting everybody on board before decisions are made.
Right. Yep. So and so, you know, it'll affect a lot of different things. You know, the surrounding businesses, the property, the parking, what are we going to do there? What are we going to fill that with?
Right.
You know, when that community talked about filling it with 300 and some odd days of you know, some event going on down there, you know, that's pretty exciting.
Definitely, exactly. Not just something in the summer, but perhaps an ice rink in the winter, town Christmas tree. But there's so much to discuss and so much possibility with that.
Right. Yeah, and I think that something like that is just fantastic. Goes along the lines of just about everything that we do here. We do a lot of things in Alpena that are the best. If we're going to do it, we do it the biggest or the best. And you look at our Maritime Heritage Center, our ice rink, different locations and things that we have here. We're always very good at it once we get done with it. So.
Right, and this is just only adding to setting yourself apart from other Northeast Michigan communities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, great. And then segueing then into some things that you've done as mayor and that you'd like to continue doing. The coffee with the mayor that you've held at Big Boy once or twice, I believe. Is that something that you'd like to continue doing? Was that beneficial for you as a leader? It
was. I did it once, and I had hoped to do it more often, and I talked a little bit about then as an idea that I've heard from other mayors is that they have office hours.
Right.
That's proved to have been pretty difficult to do, and even with the whatever you want to call it, evening with the mayor, coffee with the mayor, or whatever. It was very rewarding for me, and hopefully as well for the residents that came. That's where you get some ideas, and you get a different aspect from people. We brought out there were some topics. I talked a lot like I am now, and so I kind of I was criticized a bit, which is fine. When I left, that I talked, you know.
People say that about me too, though.
So, but I certainly gave the people an opportunity and took a lot of notes back. You know, we talked about a lot of different things that weren't on my mind.
Right. What were some of those things that people brought up to you that you thought, hey, this is interesting. We didn't really think about that.
Well, there was an issue. The one topic that I did have on there was the water meter change-out thing, and something that didn't occur to me, and it may have to the water company, but didn't occur to me, is that a guy there had a neighbor that was on the boats. And so when you're on the boats for a significant amount of time, you may not get that letter that says, hey, call the water company and make the appointment.
Right.
And so, you know, he discussed that a little bit, and, you know, hopefully when guys know that they're going to be gone for a long time, or gals, they forward their mail. You would hope that someone's checking their mail. So, and some goose droppings that have increased throughout the community, both at the band shell and on some of the sidewalks. And so there was some discussion about some of the past programs that we've had, like egg collecting and and geese annoyance and hunting in the city. You know, the residents felt that had just dropped off.
Right, so
I went back to staff and we discussed that a little bit. It's something that there again we'll discuss over the winter, because when spring comes, that's when we'll need to take the action. So different topics like that came up, and it was enjoyable. So
well, great.
I'll do it some more for sure. Just you know, when you look back at that amount of time, you say, I didn't do another one. It's
right, exactly. It gets away from you.
It's pretty fast. So.
Well, good. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me today, Mr. Mayor. And
Certainly.
The election is only about 2 weeks away, 2 weeks out from today. So as you head to the polls, make sure you're informed about not just the recall issue, but about everything, all of the state proposals and city issues. So if you'd like more information, you can visit the League of Women Voters website for their voter guide at www.lwvmi.org. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan has been a Channel 11 News public affairs program. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email us at the web address on the screen. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.